We managed to include in the European Social Survey, which is a large survey with which we work and which covers 20 to 30 European countries, 30 questions about attitudes towards immigrations. Some of them are general questions about immigration, like to what extent would you allow people of the same race and ethnic group to come into the country, or a different race and ethnic group to come into the country. And some questions are much more specific. For example, to what extent would you allow Jews, immigrant Jews to come into the country, or immigrant Muslims to come into the country? Or to what extent would you support that the government spends more money on refugees in a country? In that way, we get both information about the general attitude towards immigration, but also more specific targeting towards specific groups. In general, when people are more negative towards immigration, then they are in general also more negative in all these questions. And the opposite, if people are more positive, in general, we see also that they are more positive in the different questions, the specific ones and the general ones. When we try to explain attitudes towards immigration, then we separate between two types of explanations. First, we try to look at differences between countries in Europe. For example, we find that at least in some of the studies, countries with more difficult economic situations, with more larger immigration groups also to be more negative towards immigration, even though that's not always the case. We do find that countries which have more positive policies towards immigration are also more positive towards immigration. And at the same time, we also try to explain differences between individuals. For example, age. Older people are tendentially more negative towards immigration, or education. We know that more educated people are more positive towards immigration, even though we don't always know whether it's really the education that results in more positive attitudes, or whether educated people know what is the expected answer, and that's why they give it to us. So it's a black box, people work on it. What I work on is looking often on values and how they relate to attitude towards immigration. We know from the theory that these values guide our behavior, guide our attitudes in daily life. So if, for example, the motivation behind the value universalism is concern toward other people, then we have the question, what happens to such an individual for whom this is important when immigrants are coming? We can show concern, understanding, because they bring along new ideas that we need to understand. So it's an opportunity for these individuals to realize the value universalism. Now, exactly the opposite mechanism works with the conservation values, because immigrants bring along new traditions, new norms, and the motivation behind conservation is to keep everything unchanged as it is now here. That's why we expect conservative individuals becoming more negative or object immigration. Universalist individuals doing just the opposite, just welcoming immigrants because they're happy they can realize the motivation behind this value, which is so important to them. And we find that that happens in many countries at different time points. So this is really a robust finding. These values are consequential for accepting of immigrants in general, and by the way, of different minorities in particular, not only immigrants. So these universalist individuals are open to different kinds of minorities, and conservative individuals, just the opposite.